So, hello everyone. Can anyone confirm whether my screen is visible?
Yes, Bhaiya, screen is visible.
Okay. So, everyone, welcome to the day 3 of the Azure Fundamentals workshop, which is a collaboration between MLSA and GDSC-ITER. I am the organizer, Bravish Ghosh, the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador and Microsoft Certified. And we have our guest speakers, Akash Das and Amisha Jaiswal, who are also Microsoft Certified. So we all welcome you to a complete workshop on Azure Fundamentals, day 3. So if you have any doubts or any issues regarding this event, then you can contact me at this email ID. So a little bit introduction about myself. I'm a junior at Computer Science Engineering branch at ITER, Shiksha Anusandhan University. I'm the GDSC lead of ITER. I'm an MLSA, Microsoft Certified Azure Fundamentals, MLS Mentor, and GitLab Certified Associate and GAN Specialized. So some FAQs about this Cloud Study Jam. Why is GDSC-ITER in collaboration with MLSA organizing this event? The Microsoft certified members from our club are going to share their knowledge and experiences to help other students to pass the Azure 900 certification. But in no way we are experts. What are the benefits of the Azure 900 certification? Azure 900 is the foundational level certification for Azure Cloud Services. Passing this exam proves your foundational level knowledge in Azure Cloud Services. Certification and knowledge in Azure may provide better job opportunities. This certification may increase the chances for earning more in your current job. So what are the benefits of this event? MLSA is going to provide discount coupons and certificate of participation to all attendees who attend all 3 sessions and fill the feedback form that will be provided at the end of this session. This is a free event organized voluntarily by the official members of GDSC-ITER who have passed the Azure 900 exam. This is a live session, so attendees can feel free to ask the doubts in the chat box when we'll be turning it on, and we shall try our best to answer all of your queries. Attending all these 3 sessions, and today is the day 3, it will make you Azure ready and confident to appear for the Azure 900 certification exam. So this is the overview of the Azure fundamentals. So we had already covered the basic cloud concepts, Azure services, solutions and management tools on Azure, the general security networks and security features. Today we are going to cover the governance, privacy and compliance features, as well as the Azure cost and SLAs. So for this, I myself, Bravish Ghosh and Akash Das are going to teach you the following 2 sessions. So Akash Das, the session is over to you now.
Thank you, Bravish. Hello, everyone, and happy Vijay Dasmi to all. So, I'm Akash Das. I'm a pre-finance student. Firstly, screen. So, is my screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Bhaiya.
Yeah, okay. So, till now we have covered the core concepts of Azure and core Azure services. And also, yesterday we saw about the core solutions and management tools on Azure, along with the general security and network security features of Microsoft Azure. And today we will be covering the last 2 sections that are the identity governance, privacy and compliance features, and Azure cost management and service level agreements. We'll be covering it in 2 parts, and to be honest, these 2 sections are quite easy, and you will expect few questions from here. So now I'll be covering the first section, that is the describing identity governance features and compliance features. Okay. So what are we going to cover? It is a quite like index based or the overview of the things we are going to cover. So first we'll be looking at the Azure Identity Services that includes the authentication and what is the difference between authentication and authorization. We'll be looking at Azure Active Directory, Multifactor Authentication, Single Sign-On and Conditional Access. Then comes the part Azure Governance features, which will be including RBAC, that is the role-based access control, resource logs and resource tags, Azure Policies, Blueprints, and CAF. Then comes Azure Privacy and Compliance, that includes privacy statement and online service terms. Then comes the Trust Center and compliance documents and other Azure sovereign regions. So first, what exactly are identity services? And for that to understand, we need to know what is the difference between authentication and authorization. Okay. So authentication is the process of establishing the identity of a person or service that wants to access a resource. And once authenticated, authorization defines what kind of application, resources, and data I can access. What that means is, for accessing any resources or anything or services in the Azure, you need to be authorized. And for that, you need to be authenticated. What is meant by authenticated? Like for for me to prove that I am Akash, I can show that I am having my Aadhaar card, and Aadhaar card is a proof that I am Akash. Okay, so that is the authentication provided by our government. So exactly in that way, that is authentication. And then comes authorization. The authorization means like being the citizen of India, what level of access I am having to in the government's part. Like I am having various things like I am having right to information or something like that. In that way only you have access to which kind of services, what resources you can manage and you can access. That it comes under authorization part. So that is authentication and authorization. So authentication establishes the user's identity, but authorization is the process of establishing what level of access an authenticated person or service has. It specifies what data they're allowed to access and what they can do with it. Then now let's see what Azure Active Directory has to offer. So if you don't know about Active Directory is a service introduced by Microsoft in Windows 2000. Okay, to give organizations the ability to manage multiple on-premises infrastructure, components, and systems by using the single identity per user. So for on-premises environments, Active Directory running on Windows Server provides an identity and access management service. Okay, but that is managed by our own organization. That is nothing to do with cloud. So in Azure AD provides the identity services that enable users to sign in and access both Microsoft Cloud applications and cloud applications that we develop. So when you secure identities on premises with Active Directory, Microsoft doesn't monitor sign-in attempts. So when you connect Active Directory with Azure Active Directory, Microsoft can help protect you by detecting suspicious sign-in attempts at no extra cost. So what does that Active Directory provides? Active Directory provides the authentication. This means it verifies identity to access application and resources, and then it provides single sign-on. Single sign-on is a very important service that Active Directory provides. You might expect many questions on it too. So it enables you to remember only one username and password and to access multiple applications. Okay. So what this means is if any user change its role or leaves the organization, then it need not to register again for it in the Active Directory. Your ID in the Active Directory can be used at various roles in the same organization. Okay, so you need not worry about that. Then there comes the application management and device management. So next comes these are the things that I told, that authentication is verifying identity to access applications and resources. Then the single sign-on. Single sign-on enables you to remember only one username and one password to access multiple applications. A single identity is tied to a user, which simplifies the security model. As users change roles or leave an organization, access modifications that are tied to the identity, which greatly reduces the effort needed to change or disable accounts. Then comes application management. You can manage your cloud and on-premises apps by using Active Directory. Features like application proxy, service, software as a service apps, and my apps portal and single sign-on provide better user experience. Then comes device management along with accounts for individual people. Azure Active Directory supports the registration of devices. Registration enables devices to be managed through tools like Microsoft Intune. It allows device-based control conditional access policies to restrict access attempts to those coming from known devices regardless of requesting user account. We'll be looking at conditional access in the next slides. So don't worry about that. Then comes the single sign-on. Single sign-on enables a user to sign in one time and use that credential to access multiple resources and applications from different service providers. With single sign-on, you need to remember only one ID and one password. Access across applications is granted to single identity that's tied to the user, which simplifies the security model as users change roles or leaves. This is the same things we have discussed here now, so you don't need to worry, think much more about this. You just need to understand that single sign-on provides you're having one account, like when you register for a Google account, okay? You can use the Gmail account to log into various websites. Many websites provide those APIs that you can sign in through the Google accounts. It is similar to that only. You will create one account in Active Directory and you can use that in several applications to log in. So this is an example that you are this is a single sign-on credentials, and these are the various directory that is provided by many servers. So you can use any one of them to log into this CyberArk login page. Okay. Then comes Azure multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication is a process where a user is prompted during the sign-in process for an additional form of identification. So the multi-factor authentication elements required, these are the required elements which are which this thing, something the user knows, something the user has, and something the user is. These are the elements. Okay. The multi-factor authentication can belong to any of these elements. So what is mean by something the user knows? So this might be any email ID or password. So that is the user knows about it. Then something the user has. What does that mean? So this might be a code that is sent to the mobile phone of the user, which we know called as the OTP. So the user has the OTP, so he can verify that he is the user by using that OTP. And also the something that user is means the biometric properties such as the fingerprint or the face scan, which many of us have seen these days. Okay, so this was about multi-factor authentication. So what is Azure Active Directory multi-factor authentication is Microsoft service that provides multi-factor authentication capability. So Azure Active Directory multi-factor authentication enables user to choose an additional form of authentication during sign-in, such as phone call or mobile app notification. So Active Directory also provides the feature of multi-factor authentication. Then comes conditional access. Conditional access is a tool that Azure Active Directory uses to allow or deny access to resources based on identity signals. These signals include who the user is, where the user is, and what device the user is requesting access from. Conditional access also provides a more granular multi-factor authentication experience for users. For example, a user might not be challenged for second authentication factor if they are at a known location. However, they might be challenged for a second authentication factor if their sign-in signals are unusual or they are at an unexpected location. So what happens during the sign-in is conditional access collects signals, okay, from the user and makes decisions based on those signals, and then enforces the decision by allowing or denying the access request or challenging for a multi-factor authentication. The signal which we are talking about here is the might be user's location or user's device or the application that the user is trying to access from. Okay. The signal means that only. So based on that signals only, it will decide that yeah, it is a authorized user. He can enter the app, or it will ask for a multi-factor authentication. So this was all about that identity part. Now we'll look at the governance strategy of Azure. Here, these are the things like it includes Azure role-based access control, how to prevent accidental changes by using resource locks, and how you can organize your Azure resources by using tags. You can control and audit your resources by using Azure Policy. You can govern multiple subscriptions by using Azure Blueprints, and you can accelerate your cloud adoption journey by using the cloud adoption framework. That was the CAF we were talking about in the beginning. And now you can create subscription governance strategies. We'll look at this now. So what is role-based access control? it is like descriptive only. Like instead of defining the detailed access requirements for each individual and then updating access requirements, where when we new resources are created, Azure enables you to control access through Azure role-based access control. Azure provides built-in roles that describe common access rules for cloud resources. You can also define your own roles. Each role has an associated set of access permissions that relate to that role. When you assign individuals or groups to one or more roles, they receive all the associated access permissions. Okay. So it includes roles. Roles include like they can be owner, reader, or a contributor. These are the built-in roles which are provided by Azure. You can also make your own roles upon your choice, what level of access they can. Okay. So then comes the resource locks. A resource lock prevents resources from being accidentally deleted or changed. Even with Azure role-based access control policies in place, there is a still risk that people with right level of access could delete critical cloud resources. Think of a resource lock as a warning system that reminds you that this resource should not be deleted or changed. You can apply locks to a subscription, a resource group, or an individual resource. You can set the lock label to cannot delete or read only. Cannot delete means authorized people can still read and modify a resource, but they can't delete this resource without first removing the lock. So in order to remove the lock, you first need to change the policies and remove the lock over it, then only you can delete it. Read only means authorized people can read a resource, but they can't delete or change the resource. Applying the lock is like restricting all authorized users to permission granted by the reader role in Azure Airbag. So this is only a part of the reader role. That reader can only read only. Read only means that the reader can only read the files. He can't delete it. But with different roles, like the owner or the contributor, they can delete the things, but reader can only read the resources. Okay. Then comes resource tags. As your cloud usage grows, it is increasingly important to stay organized. A good organizing strategy helps you understand your cloud uses and help you manage costs. The one way to organize related resources is to place them in their own subscriptions. You can also use resource groups to manage related resources. Resource tags are another way to organize resources. Tags provide extra information or metadata about your resources. Tag consists of name value pairs. If we apply a tag to resource group, then the tag is applied to the resource group only and not to the resources under the resource group. So what happens is in when we are having a resource group, we are having multiple resources below. Okay. So if we're using a tag for a particular resource group, you might think that yeah, if we're applying the tag to a resource group, then under which any resources fall, they will be also having that same tag. So no, that's not the case over here. Only the resource group is having that tag, and we can assign different tags to the resources under it. Then comes Azure Policy. Azure Policy is a service in Azure that enables you to create, assign, and manage policies that control or audit your resources. These policies enforce different rules and effects over your resource configuration so that these configurations stay compliant with corporate standards. Evaluates and identifies the Azure resources that do not comply with your policies, provides built-in policy and initiative definitions under categories such as networking, storage, compute, security, and monitoring. Then comes the Azure Blueprints. Azure Blueprints makes it possible for development teams to rapidly build and stand up new environments. Development teams can quickly build trust through organizing compliance with a set of built-in components in order to speed up development and delivery. It has role assignments, policy assignments, ARM templates, and the resource groups. Then comes the Cloud Adoption Framework. The Cloud Adoption Framework for Azure provides you with the proven guidance to help with your cloud adoption journey. The Cloud Adoption Framework helps you to understand, create, and implement the business and technology strategies needed to succeed in the cloud. The One Microsoft approach to cloud adoption to Azure, the best practices from Microsoft employees, partners, and customers, tools, guidance, and narratives for strategies and outcomes. Okay, this is the Cloud Adoption Framework. where it is provided. It is like much more descriptive. Descriptive. If you will visit the site, you can say. But this is a basic strategy that is followed by many big organizations. So it is like a become a standard. So first you need to define a strategy, then you use to plan and then get ready for the adoption of cloud. Then you adopt it, and likewise, okay, you just need to have an idea about this. You don't need to remember all these things. These are just for understanding purpose. This like these last two sections are only just you can read and remember it. That is nothing to understand. Okay, you will just get the questions and you will know that yeah, this question is from this section. You just need to give it a reading once. There is nothing to understand in the last two sections. So this is then comes the subscription governance strategy. Okay, it is the cloud center of excellence team, a cloud organization structure that meets your business needs. Start their Azure governance strategy at subscription level. There are three main aspects to consider when you create and manage subscriptions. That is the billing, access control, and subscription limit. Okay, then it is the last section. Okay, of this part. So how to examine privacy, compliance, and data protection standards on Azure. Okay. So it includes the compliance terms and requirements, Microsoft privacy statement, the online services terms, and the data protection addendum. Then comes the trust center, then comes Azure compliance document, then what is Azure government, and what is Azure China 21 VANET. So what are compliance terms and requirements? These are the Azure that respects local laws and regulations and provide comprehensive coverage of compliance offerings. It provides the most comprehensive set of compliance offerings, including certifications and attestations of any cloud service provider. So some of the compliance offering include the Criminal Justice Information Services and the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, CSA Star Certification, ISO IEC 2718, EU Model Clauses, National Institute of Standard and Technologies. We just need to have a look on this. These are actually not important, but what I have understood that is HIPAA, CGIS, and one more is the BCCI something. You just need to remember these three things only. In generally, these three things are only asked. Nothing else is asked in the exam. So these are the various compliance of things that is provided by Azure. This is available in the site. These are too many things. You just need to have a look on it. You don't need to remember all these things. Then comes Microsoft privacy statement. So the Microsoft privacy statement provides openness and honesty about how Microsoft handles the user data collected from its products and services. So the Microsoft privacy statement explains what data Microsoft processes, how Microsoft processes it, and what purposes the data is used for. So what we are looking till now that what is how secure is Azure and what Azure has to offer to us. But what the Microsoft privacy statement shows is that the data we give to Azure Microsoft, how it uses your data, how it keeps your data safe. Microsoft privacy statement, online services and data protection addendum, they secure your data. Okay, this belongs to anything. If in question that anything belongs to the statement privacy statements that is belong to your data, how your data is being protected by Microsoft. You need to answer that it is yeah, it is coming under the Microsoft privacy statement policy. So then comes the online service terms. The licensing terms defines the terms and conditions for products and online services you purchased from Microsoft volume licensing programs. Then data protection addendum, the DPA sets forth the obligations with respect to processing and security of customer data and personal data in connection with the online services. Then comes the trust center. The Trust Center showcases Microsoft principles for maintaining data integrity in the cloud and how Microsoft implements and supports security, privacy, compliance, and transparency in all Microsoft cloud products and services. The Trust Center is an important part of the Microsoft Trusted Cloud initiative and provides support and resources for the legal and compliance community. The Trust Center is a great resource for other people in your organization who might play a role in security, privacy, and compliance. So this is the Microsoft Trust Center portal. When you visit this site, you can look at the Trust Center, what it has to offer and everything. Then comes Azure Compliance Documentation. The Azure Compliance Documentation provides with detailed documentation about legal and regulatory standards and compliance on Azure. Here you can find compliance offerings across these categories: global, US government, financial services, health and media, and manufacturing, regional. There are also additional compliance resources such as audit reports, privacy information, compliance implementation and mapping, and white papers and analysis reports. Country and region privacy and compliance guidelines are also included. Some resources might require you to be signed in to your cloud services to access them. So this is the Azure Compliance Documentation Program portal. Here you can see several compliance offerings which are on global basis, which are for US government. Likewise, you can see all the compliance documentation. You can see here the audit reports also. Audit reports which are provided by other organizations for Microsoft Azure who this is kind of a certification for Azure that they are safe. Likewise, there are very Azure audit reports and many things like that you can see in this portal. Then comes the Azure Government. So Azure Government is a separate instance of Microsoft Azure service. It addresses the security and compliance needs of US federal agencies, state and local governments, and their solution providers. Azure Government offers physical isolation from non-US government deployments and provides screened US personnel. Azure Government provides the broadest compliance and level 5 DoD approval. Azure Government is available in 8 geographies and offers the most compliant certifications of any cloud provider. So this is the Azure Government page. It is actually meant for the US government only and for their federal purposes. So this is the particular website for their Azure for their users only. Then comes the Azure China 21 VANET. So Azure China 21 VANET is operated by 21 VANET. It is a physically separate instance of cloud services located in China. Azure China 21 VANET is independently operated and transacted by Shanghai Blue Cloud Technology Corporate Limited, a wholly owned subsidiary of Beijing 21 VANET Broadband Data Center. According to the China telecommunication regulations, providers of cloud services, IS or platform as a service, must have high value-added telecom permits. So only locally registered companies with less than 50% foreign investment qualify for these permits. To comply with these regulations only, the Azure service in China is operated by 21 VANET based on the technologies licensed from the Microsoft. So based on their regulations, in order to Azure to operate in China, they had to create a separate instance of Azure, and that is the China 21 VANET. They can't just use the global Azure over there because of their local rules and regulations. So then comes, this is the page of 21 VANET, which is built only for them. So I guess this was all about this section. You just need to have a rating. There is nothing to understand over here. Just identity portion is like very clear, like tags, resource logs, and those you can just give them a rating and can easily answer these questions. And everything else is just theory things. You just need to understand it, give it a read, and then it will be easy for you to understand. So okay, that's it for now. I will now hand it over to Bravish. Thank you.
Thank you, Akash. It was a really wonderful session. So as these two sections are not that big, so we'll continue the session. So I'm going to share my screen, so let me know if it is visible or not. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Bhaiya, visible.
Okay, thank you. So this is the last part of this Azure Fundamentals, and it is a really small part. So this is Azure Cost Management and Service Level Agreements. So first comes the Total Cost of Ownership Calculator. The Total Cost of Ownership TCO calculator can help you compare the cost of running in your on-premises data centers versus running on Azure. So here you can see This is the on-premise breakdown, and this is the total Azure cost breakdown. So the TCO helps you to compare the cost on your on-premise data centers versus running on your Azure data centers. So how does this TCO works? So there are 3 steps for it. First, you have to define the workloads, then you have to adjust the assumptions, and then you have to view the report. So to define the workloads, you have to enter the servers, databases, storage, and networking specifications for your on-premises infrastructure into the TCO calculator. To adjust the assumptions, to improve the accuracy of the TCO calculator results, you adjust the values so that they match the costs of your current on-premises infrastructure. Next is to view the report. Choose a time frame between 1 and 5 years. For each category, you can view a comparison analysis of the cost breakdown of operating those workloads on premises versus operating them on Azure. Next comes the pricing calculator. So this is the image of the pricing calculator. And as I had said earlier as well, that you may face some figure diagrams, figure questions where they will be giving the figures and asking what part is this or something like that. So for that, you have to have the visual understanding of each services available on Azure. So these are some features of pricing calculator. That is, it is online. It is used for building custom codes. It saves estimates. It provides examples. Estimated price doesn't equal to the actual bill. So it basically provides the estimated price. Next comes the types of Azure subscriptions. So first comes the free trial. So as we had discussed earlier, a free trial subscription provides you with 12 months of popular free services, a credit to explore any Azure service for 30 days, and more than 25 services that are always free. Your Azure services are disabled when the trial ends or when your credit expires for paid products, unless you upgrade to a paid subscription. The next is pay as you go. So this kind of subscription enables you to pay for what you use by attaching a credit or debit card to your account. Organizations can apply for volume discounts and prepaid invoicing. The next one is member offers. Your existing membership to certain Microsoft products and services might provide you with credits for your Azure account and reduced rates on Azure services. For example, member offers are available to Visual Studio subscribers, Microsoft Partner Network members, Microsoft for Startup members, and Microsoft Imagine members. Now, how to purchase these Azure services? So the first one is through an enterprise agreement. Large customers, known as enterprise customers, can sign an enterprise agreement with Microsoft. This agreement commits them to spending a predetermined amount on Azure services over a period of 3 years. The service fee is typically paid annually. As an enterprise agreement customer, you will receive the best customized pricing based on the kinds and amounts of services you plan on using. Next comes directly from the web. Here, you purchase Azure services directly from the Azure portal website and pay standard prices. You are billed monthly as a credit card payment or through an invoice. This purchasing method is known as Web Direct. So from here, you may get a question because nowadays a lot of questions are coming from this how to purchase the Azure services, and I had also received a question from directly from web this section. Next comes through a cloud solution provider. A cloud solution provider (CSP) is a Microsoft partner who helps you build solutions on top of Azure. Your CSP bills you for your Azure usage at a price they determine. They also answer your support questions and escalate them to Microsoft as needed. Next comes Azure planning and management costs. So what are the factors affecting costs? So there are three factors: resource type, services, and locations. Resource type, each resource has a specific cost associated with it. For services, rates vary between CSP, Web Direct, and Enterprise, and cost will always vary between locations. Next comes billing zones. A zone is a geographical grouping. So there are these zones are there. So zone one consists of the west and east US and Europe. Zone two has the Australian central area, Japan west, and central India. Zone 3 has Brazil South only, and DE Zone 1 has Germany Central and Germany Northeast. So in billing zones, the data going into a data center is free, that is ingress, but the data leaving a data center has a cost associated with it, that is egress. Cost of data leaving is based on a zone. Next comes cost reduction strategies. Reserved instances for virtual machines are reserved capacity for databases. So upfront payment for 1 or 3 years, providing a substantial savings. So these three are the properties of these three are some strategies for cost reduction. So the first one is using reserved instances and reserved capacity. So reserved instances are used for VMs and reserved capacity are used for databases. Next is through hybrids. So hybrids use benefits. So if you have any license like your SQL Server license or the Windows license, you can use these licenses against your Azure VM, which will save your money. The next method is spot pricing. So this is an important method. So this method is used to reduce the cost of your virtual machine, Azure VM. You can provision your VMs in the unused capacity in the data center, resulting in significant savings. Virtual machine will be evicted when capacity is needed. VMs should be able to handle interruptions. So these three are some strategies for cost reduction. The next is Azure cost management. So you just need to remember these three. You don't need to go in depth. So the three types of Azure cost management are analyze cloud costs, create budgets, and optimize using recommendations. Now comes Azure Service Level Agreements, that is SLS. Some properties of SLS are it contains performance details of an Azure service, and it also contains information on what happens if the SLA is not met. Now let's discuss some components of SLA. First comes connectivity guarantees. You will have VM connectivity to at least one instance. Next is uptime. That is at least 99.95% of times. So the next one is service credits. Reduction in bill if targets are not met as stated in the SLA. The following service levels and service credits are applicable to use the VMs in an availability set. So you just need to remember this. So you may receive some questions from here, like for which service level monthly uptime percentage, how much credit you may get. So in similar way. So these are the components of an SLA. So this is all that's there in the last part. So before we test your knowledge, we'll be giving you a 5 to 10 minutes break, so you can take some water break. After that, we'll be discussing some important questions that have directly appeared in exam. So it will give you experience about how we will face the questions. So yeah, we'll be back in 5 to 10 minutes. So everyone, the chat has been enabled for now. So if you have any doubts, you can ask in the chat, but do maintain a decorum, otherwise you will be removed from the meeting. So yeah, the chat is open for 5 to 10 minutes. Please ask your doubts so that after that we can move on with the questions. So Janvi, you are asking that am I going to send the complete PPT to your email ID? So yes, so whoever have filled the feedback form, I have their email IDs, so I'll be mailing them the PPTs. So Siddharth, you are asking whether I will be providing discount coupons for Azure 900 exam. So yes, as I'm an MLSA, I have the discount coupons for the common audience. So I'll be providing that to you all who have attended all three sessions, not to everyone. Okay, everyone. So now let's test your knowledge from what you have learned in these 3 days. So you have to answer in your chat box. So the first two questions are: first question, you have 50 virtual machines hosted on premises and 50 virtual machines hosted in Azure. The on premises virtual machines and the Azure virtual machines connect to each other. Which type of cloud model is this? So the options are hybrid, private, public. Okay, so most of you are answering correct. Let's see. Someone is saying it will be public. Someone is saying it will be hybrid. Okay. The next question is, your company plans to deploy several custom applications to Azure. The applications will provide invoicing services to the customers of the company. Each application will have several prerequisite applications and services installed. You need to recommend a cloud deployment solution for all the applications. What should you recommend? So the three options are software as a service, platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service. So we have discussed this. So let's see what people are saying. Some are saying SAS, some are saying PAS. Let's see. So everyone answer? Okay. So I'm moving on to the answers, the solutions. So yeah, the first question's answer is hybrid cloud. So it's because the hybrid cloud has the properties of both the public and private cloud. So as we are using both the virtual machines hosted on premises and the virtual machines hosted in cloud, so it will be beneficial if we use the hybrid cloud. And the answer for the second one is infrastructure as a service. How many of you have answered it correctly? Nobody? Nobody has answered it correctly. Okay, so it will be yes, because it is an instant computing infrastructure provisioned and managed over the internet. The yes service provider manages the infrastructure while you purchase, install, configure, and manage your own software. So this is another type of question you will be facing, that is true or false kind of question, or you can say yes or no. So you have three statements here. The first statement is building a data center infrastructure is an example of operational expenditure, that is OPEX costs. The second one is monthly salaries for technical personnel are an example of OPEX costs. The third one is the leasing software is an example of operational expenditure, that is OPEX costs. So any answers? You can answer it on why and why, or yes, no, yes, or something like that. So someone is saying first one is true. Okay. So someone is saying yes, yes, no. Okay, good. Okay, and the next question is Azure Cosmos DB is a BaaS, yes, or SaaS, or serverless? So I'll wait for a few more seconds and then I will be disclosing the solutions.
It's 11 hours.
Yes, yes. Okay, both the serverless. Someone is saying SaaS. Okay, so I'm disclosing the answers. So the answer for the statement and true or false question is no, yes, yes. So the first statement was building a data center infrastructure is an example of OPEX cost. So it is no, because building a data center infrastructure is a CAPEX, not OPEX. And the second one, that is monthly salaries for technical personnel are an example of OPEX cost. So yeah, that's true. And the third one is leasing software is an example of OPEX. That is also true. And the next question was, yeah, so Azure Cosmos DB is a PaaS, that is platform as a service. So you can just remember this. If the next two questions are this. So these are also statements and true or false questions. So the fifth question is, the statement one says that with SaaS, you must apply software updates. With yes, you must install the software that you want to use. And Azure Backup is an example of PaaS. And the next question has the statements. First statement says you can create a resource group inside of an other resource group. The second statement is an Azure VM can be in multiple resource groups. The third statement is a resource group can contain resources from multiple Azure regions. So let's see your answers. No, yes, no. Yes, yes, no. Okay. Everyone answer? Someone is saying no, yes, no. So no, yes, no for which one? Fifth one, okay. No, so, okay. Okay, great. And tell me about the sixth one, everyone. Okay. Everyone respond. Lots of answers are coming up. Others can also respond. Most are saying no, no, yes, or no, yes, yes. For sixth question. Okay, so I'm disclosing the answer for the fifth question. So no, yes, yes is the correct answer. For the fifth question, so with software as a service, you must apply software updates. So the answer is no. With infrastructure as a service, you must install the software that you want to use. That is yes. And backup is an example of pass. And that's also true. The Azure backup is an example of pass. You have to remember this one. So let's see the sixth question's answer. So no, no, yes is the correct answer. Most of you had answered it correctly. Cool. So moving forward to the next questions. The seventh question is, your Azure environment contains multiple Azure VMs. You need to ensure that a VM named VM1 is accessible from the internet over HTTP. So for this, you provide a solution that you modify a DDoS protection plan. So does this meet the goal? What it is saying is that this is a problem statement, and this is the solution that we are provided. So this solution satisfies this problem statement or not? So you have to say yes or no. Similarly, the eighth question is, your Azure environment contains multiple Azure VMs, and you need to ensure that a VM named VM1 is accessible from the internet over HTTP. So for this, the solution we are providing is you modify an Azure firewall. So does this meet the goal? Yes or no? So everyone answer. Okay, so some are saying yes, no, some are saying no, yes. Okay, so let's see. So for DDS protection plan, that is no. And for the Azure firewall, it will be yes. So it will be no, yes. So most of you are already correct. That's great. So moving forward to the next two questions. So the ninth question is, you plan to map a network drive from several computers that run Windows 10 to Azure storage. You need to create a storage solution in Azure for the planned map drive. What should you create? So the options are Azure SQL database, VM data disk, file service in storage account, log service in storage account. And the 10th question is, you need to recommend a solution to ensure that some of the servers are available if a single Azure data center goes offline for an extended period. What should you include in the recommendation? So the options are fault tolerance, elasticity, scalability, or low latency. So let's see what we are answering for this. Yeah, so the ninth answer is C. That is file service in the storage account. And the 10th answer is A. That is fault tolerance. Most of you had answered it correctly, I guess. So moving forward to the next two questions. The 11th question is, your company has several business units. Each business unit requires 20 different Azure resources for daily operation. All the business units require the same type of Azure resources. You need to recommend a solution to automate the creation of the Azure resources. What should you include in the recommendations? So Azure Resource Manager templates, VM scale sets, Azure API Management Service, or management groups. The next question is, to what should an application connect to retrieve security tokens? So this is a good question actually. So the options are Azure Storage Account, Azure Active Directory, Certificate Store, or Azure Key Vault. So I'll wait for 2 minutes. Let's see what we are answering for this. So everyone answer these questions. Okay, so most of you are saying A. The first one is A. You are saying. So that is Azure Resource Manager templates. Okay. And for the 12th one, some are saying B and some are saying D. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I'm disclosing the answers. So yeah, the 11th one is A. That is Azure Resource Manager templates. But for 12, it is B. So whoever said B, I understand that you think that it's Azure Key Vault, but no, the answer is Azure AD. So it's A and B. So moving forward to the next two questions. So okay, so the 13th question is an MSQ. So multiple select question, that is more than one is correct. Which two types of customers are eligible to use Azure Government to develop a cloud solution? So the options are Canadian government contractor, European government contractor, US government entity, US government contractor, or the European government entity. And the next question is, your network contains an AD forest. The forest contains 5,000 user accounts. Your company plans to migrate all network resources to Azure and to decommission the on-premises data center. Now you need to recommend a solution to minimize the impact on users after the planned migration. So what would you recommend? So the options are implement Azure Multifactor Authentication, that is MFA, sync all the AD user accounts to Azure Active Directory, instruct all users to change their password, or create a guest user account in Azure AD for each user. Okay. So let's wait for 2 minutes and see what you all are answering for these two questions. So just remember this is an MSQ question, so more than one option is correct. Okay, so now I'm disclosing the answer. So for the 13th question, the correct answers are United States government entity and United States government contractor. That is C and D options. Both are correct. And for 14th question, the correct answer is B. It is sync all the Active Directory user accounts to the Azure AD. So yeah, most of you have answered it correctly. So these are all the questions that we wanted to discuss, as some of them were important according to us. And now I would like to invite our guest speakers back again so that we can give some conclusion to each and every one of you before ending the session. So Akash and Amisha, would you like to come onto the stage?
I hope you found this session useful. And so, all the best, guys, whoever will be attending and appearing for the exam.
Exactly. And if you are having any further questions, you can contact to us. You can connect to us on LinkedIn or on Instagram. We'll be sending handles, social media handles on the email you'll be receiving. So thank you everyone for attending the sessions, and we hope you have learned something at least from our sessions, and you will be doing very well in the exam. So don't worry about that. That's it.
Okay, so thank you so much, Akash Das and Amisha Jaiswal. It was a really wonderful experience throughout these 3 days. And I'm sure that all the attendees must have learned a lot from these three sessions. And I hope that we have made you Azure ready as well as confident for the Azure 900 examination. So before ending this session, I would like you all to fill up the feedback form. And after that, you can leave the session. So I'm sending the link in the chat box as well. And you can also see the QR code on the screen. So please fill that, and after that you can leave the meeting. Thank you everyone. Yes, after filling the form, you can leave the meeting. This session is over. It was a really wonderful experience of this whole 3 days. So I hope that we'll be meeting very soon. So yeah, after filling the form, you can leave the meeting. Thank you so much, everyone. Yes, Satyajit. The discount coupon as well as the certificate of participation will be sent through your mail ID.